Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the difference between staying broke for the rest of your life and building unstoppable wealth has nothing to do with the money in your pocket, but everything to do with the way you think, the way you walk, and the way you carry yourself every single day? What if I told you that the secret to creating abundance isn't waiting until you have millions, but acting with the mindset, the energy, and the discipline of a billionaire right now, even if you don't have a single dollar to your name? Because the truth is, your future doesn't wait for proof. It waits for your decision. And picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning and decide to live not as a person struggling to make ends meet, but as someone who carries the energy, certainty, and vision of a billionaire. Not because of the money sitting in the bank, but because of the state of mind you choose to live in. You see, wealth is not about the number in your account. It's about the way you think, the way you carry yourself, and the standards you hold for your life. If you act like you're broke, if you carry yourself with scarcity, fear, and hesitation, you'll continue to attract exactly that. But if you choose to act as if you are already a billionaire, living with boldness, making decisions from abundance, and showing up with unshakable confidence, you shift your energy and you begin to magnetize opportunities that would never show up otherwise. And every billionaire started with a mindset long before they had the money. Think about it. They dreamed when others doubted. They invested when others played safe. They moved forward when others froze. They weren't reckless. They were certain. And certainty is contagious. People follow it. Opportunities flow to it. Doors open for it. The truth is, most people wait for evidence before they allow themselves to believe. They wait for the bank account to change, the job title to change, the circumstances to shift before they give themselves permission to live powerfully. But if you wait for proof, you'll wait forever. The secret is to live now as if you already have what you're chasing. And so what does it mean to act like a billionaire when you're broke? It doesn't mean reckless spending or pretending. It means you raise your standards immediately. A billionaire doesn't walk into a room hoping to be noticed. They walk in already certain of their value. A billionaire doesn't operate out of fear of losing. They play to win. They don't shrink their dreams to fit their circumstances. They expand their actions to meet their vision. You must begin to condition your mind to see abundance where others see limitation. If you're broke today, that's just a circumstance. It's not your identity, but if you keep identifying with it, you'll stay there. Shift your identity and the circumstances will follow. And think about the way a billionaire thinks about time. They don't waste it. They value it more than money because money can be regained, but time cannot. Even if you don't have a dollar to your name, you have the same 24 hours that the wealthiest people on earth have. How you use that time will determine everything. Will you waste it scrolling, doubting, and hesitating? Or will you invest it in growth, in skill building, in creating connections, and expanding your vision? Acting like a billionaire means treating your time like gold and aligning your priorities with where you want to be, not where you are right now. And now let's talk about decisions. Broke thinking says, I can't afford this. Billionaire thinking says, how can I make this possible? One mindset shuts down options, the other expands them. The difference between staying stuck and breaking through lies in the quality of your questions. If you ask small questions, you'll live a small life. If you ask bold questions, you'll expand into possibilities that force you to grow. Acting like a billionaire means training your brain to find solutions, to move from limitation into creativity. It's about refusing to let your current bank balance dictate the size of your vision. And here's another thing. Billionaires play long term. They don't chase instant gratification. They build, they plant seeds. They're willing to sacrifice comfort today for greatness tomorrow. If you want to embody that energy right now, ask yourself, am I making choices based on comfort or based on where I want to be 5 years from now? Acting like a billionaire means you develop patience with a fire inside you. You know where you're going, and you're not shaken by temporary setbacks. You see failure as feedback, obstacles as opportunities, and rejection as redirection. And the broke mindset is reactive. It waits for circumstances to change. The billionaire mindset is proactive. It creates the change. You may not have the resources today, but you have resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is the ultimate power. If you can't buy it, learn it. If you can't reach them, network creatively. If you can't travel, connect digitally. There is always a way if you're hungry enough. That hunger, that drive, that refusal to settle, that is billionaire energy. And confidence is another piece. True wealth begins with certainty in yourself. If you can walk with the energy that you belong, that you are worthy, that you are capable, people feel it. Opportunities feel it. Life responds to certainty. Even when you're broke, you can hold yourself with the posture, the voice, the energy of someone who knows where they're going. You don't have to fake it. You align with it. You align with the version of you who already lives that life. and then you embody it until reality catches up. And understand this, money magnifies who you already are. If you're fearful, money will make you more fearful. If you are confident, money will amplify your confidence. If you're generous, money will expand your generosity. That's why acting like a billionaire before you are one is so critical, because it shapes who you become. You're not waiting for wealth to change you. You're changing now so that wealth can flow to you. And raise your standards in every area. A billionaire doesn't tolerate mediocrity in their health, their relationships, their business, or their mindset. Even if you're broke, you can demand more from yourself. You can demand discipline, growth, strength, resilience. You can show up with energy that inspires others. You can lead with vision when others are drowning in excuses. That's what makes the difference. And stop thinking of wealth as something external. Wealth is internal first. It's a state, a vibration, an energy. When you live in abundance internally, the external catches up. If you live in scarcity internally, no matter how much money you touch, it will slip away. That's why people win the lottery and lose it all. They never change their identity. You must become the person first, then the money arrives to match who you've become. And so every day, ask yourself, am I living from scarcity or abundance? Am I reacting like someone broke, or am I creating like someone wealthy? Am I waiting for permission, or am I moving forward with certainty? If you want to change your life, you can't wait for external proof. You must decide to live it now. And then when people see you, when they feel your energy, when they notice that you carry yourself differently, they'll wonder what changed. They won't realize that it started in your mind, with a decision, with a commitment to live as if the vision is already yours. That's the secret. Not pretending, not faking, but embodying, acting like a billionaire, even if you're broke, because you know the truth. You're not defined by watching our current circumstances. You're defined by your future vision. And when you live from that place, the world cannot help but eventually reflect it back to you. And let's take this deeper, because this idea of acting like a billionaire isn't just about how you walk, how you talk, or how you stand. It's about the internal wiring of your mind. You see, the patterns you run every single day are programming your destiny. The way you think when challenges hit, the way you respond when opportunities arise, the way you see yourself in the mirror when no one's watching, that's the foundation. Billionaire energy is built on identity, not luck. They built their empires because they first built the mindset that could sustain an empire. And so what if today you stop saying, one day I'll be wealthy, and instead declared, I already am wealthy. I'm just in the process of collecting what's mine. That shift isn't delusion, it's vision. And vision creates energy. Vision creates drive. When you act like a billionaire in your heart, you stop negotiating with your old limitations. You stop lowering your goals just to fit your current circumstances. Instead, you stretch your actions to meet the size of your dream. And think about how billionaires approach risk. Most people avoid it, terrified of failure. But billionaires don't fear failure. They use it as fuel. They know failure is feedback. They know that every setback contains the seed of innovation, the adjustment that moves them closer to the win. If you act like a billionaire even while you're broke, you stop interpreting failure as the end and start interpreting it as information. You say to yourself, that didn't work good. Now I know what to adjust. You become unshakable because your standard is not comfort, it's growth. And when growth becomes your standard, you can't lose. And let's talk about relationships, because this is crucial. Broke thinking keeps you surrounded by people who complain, who settle, who justify mediocrity. Billionaire thinking surrounds itself with visionaries, problem solvers, people who stretch your thinking and push you higher. Even if you don't have wealth yet, you can choose who you spend your time with. You can create an environment that feeds your vision, not your doubts. Maybe you can't join a country club today, but you can join a mastermind online, a networking group, a community that challenges you to elevate. That's billionaire energy. You invest in proximity because proximity is power. Who you're around determines the standards you normalize. And let's not forget the way billionaires think about giving. Most people believe they'll give more when they have more. But generosity is not about money, it's about state. Acting like a billionaire means you already see yourself as someone with enough to give, even if it's just your time, your attention, your encouragement, your resourcefulness. That energy of giving expands you. It says, I am not limited. I have more than enough to share. That is the very essence of abundance. And the moment you live in abundance, even in small ways, you send a message to yourself and to the world that you are no longer operating in scarcity. And now let's dive into the psychology of decision-making. Most people make decisions out of fear. Fear of loss, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. Billionaires make decisions from vision. They ask, what outcome do I want? Who must I become to create it? Then they move boldly. Even if you don't have millions backing you, you can still decide from a place of vision instead of fear. Ask yourself, if I had all the resources in the world, What decision would I make right now? Then make that decision, not recklessly, but courageously. Your future self will thank you because you will no longer be driven by your current limitations, but by the person you are becoming. And energy is everything. When a billionaire speaks, there's certainty. Even if they're wrong, people listen because of the conviction in their voice. When someone broke speaks from fear, doubt drips from every word, and people tune out. You may not have billions yet, but you can control your energy. You can control your physiology, how you breathe, how you stand, how you project your voice. You can control your focus, what you choose to dwell on, whether it's problems or possibilities. And you can control your language, the words you speak to yourself and to others. Every single day you're broadcasting energy. The question is, are you broadcasting scarcity or abundance, victimhood or power? Billionaire energy is built by mastering your state. And don't underestimate the power of vision rituals. Billionaires visualize their future vividly. They don't just hope. It's a movie in their mind that they replay until it becomes inevitable. You can do the same right now. Even if you're broke, you can take 10 minutes a day to condition your mind to see the life you're building. Feel it, smell it, hear it, step into it emotionally. When you do that consistently, your brain begins to accept it as reality. And when your brain accepts it, your actions align, your habits shift, and your external reality begins to catch up. And here's another truth. Billionaires embrace responsibility. They don't point fingers. They don't live in excuses. They know they are the cause of their results, good or bad. Acting like a billionaire means you take extreme ownership over your life. If you're broke, you don't blame the economy, your upbringing, or your boss. You say, this is where I am, and it's on me to change it. That level of ownership is rare, but it's powerful. It means you're no longer waiting for anyone else to rescue you. You are the rescuer. And when you adopt that mindset, you tap into power most people never touch. And let's talk about resource allocation. Billionaires don't waste energy on things that don't matter. They delegate. They focus on their strengths. They know their highest value tasks and pour therein. Urge you there. You may not have a team today, but you can act like a billionaire by ruthlessly eliminating distractions, by saying no to what doesn't serve your vision, by focusing your energy on what actually moves the needle in your life. If you want to get out of broke thinking, stop spending your days reacting to everyone else's agenda and start owning your time like it's priceless, because it is. And then there's resilience. Billionaires get knocked down too, but they bounce back faster. They don't let setbacks define them. They let setbacks refine them. When you act like a billionaire, you refuse to be broken by temporary defeats. You tell yourself, this is part of the process. Every champion has scars. Every empire has setbacks. Every great story has a valley before the mountain. And when you live that way, you develop an unstoppable drive. And another piece is identity. Billionaires see themselves as creators, not consumers, as leaders, not followers, as innovators, not victims. You must decide who you are right now. If you see yourself as broke, you'll keep acting broke. But if you see yourself as someone building, someone powerful, someone destined, you'll rise to that identity. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. And let's not forget gratitude. You might think billionaires live in gratitude because of what they have, but the truth is they have what they have because they live in gratitude. Gratitude is the foundation of abundance. If you can't appreciate what you have now, you won't appreciate more later. Acting like a billionaire means you wake up grateful, even if all you have is breath in your lungs and the opportunity to keep moving forward. That energy of appreciation attracts more. And here's the key. None of this is about pretending or faking. It's about alignment. It's about stepping into the version of yourself who already has the life you want and letting that version of you lead your actions, your emotions, your decisions today. That's how you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And so the question is, are you ready to stop living from your current circumstances and start living from your future vision? Are you ready to act like the person you're destined to become even before the world can see it? Because the moment you decide, the moment you embody it, the world begins to bend to match your new identity. That's not magic. It's psychology, it's energy, it's focus, and it's discipline. And it's available to you right now. And now let's dig even deeper, because embodying the mindset of a billionaire while you're broke isn't just about confidence, certainty, or vision. It's about mastering the inner game so completely that the outer world has no choice but to catch up. Most people believe life changes when the bank account changes, when the job title changes, when the circumstances improve. But the truth is, life changes the moment you change. The moment you decide to raise your identity, the rules you live by, the level of energy you bring every single day, that's when momentum begins to shift. Acting like a billionaire isn't about showing off wealth you don't yet have. It's about stepping into a higher standard of being. And start with how you think about challenges. A person living in scarcity sees a challenge as a wall. A person living in abundance sees a challenge as a doorway. The broke mindset says, why me? The billionaire mindset says, why not me? The broke mindset says, I can't afford this risk. The billionaire mindset says, if I don't take this risk, I'll stay stuck where I am. Even if you don't have money right now, you can choose to see challenges as the gym where your greatness is built. Every obstacle is resistance, and resistance builds strength. When you start embracing problems instead of running from them, you begin to develop the muscle that the wealthy rely on, the muscle of resourcefulness, creativity, and resilience. And think about health, because billionaires value energy. Money without health is misery. Acting like a billionaire means treating your body like it matters right now. You don't wait until you're successful to care about your fitness, your nutrition, your sleep. You recognize that your body is the vehicle for your vision, and you maintain it with discipline. Even when you're broke, you can exercise, you can drink water, you can care for your mind and body. That level of self-respect radiates power. It says, I value myself enough to treat this vessel as priceless. That's billionaire thinking. You invest in yourself first. And now think about how billionaires approach learning. They are obsessed with growth. They read, they study, they seek mentors, they pay for speed. They don't ask, how much will this cost? They ask, what is the value of not knowing this? You may not have money to invest in every course or mentor right now, but you have books, podcasts, videos, free resources everywhere. Acting like a billionaire means you devour information with intensity, you take what you learn, and you apply it. You don't waste time consuming without action. You feed your mind with knowledge, and then you translate that into movement. That habit alone will separate you from the masses. And let's talk about vision casting. A billionaire doesn't think in days or weeks. They think in decades. They aren't asking, what will I achieve by Friday? They're asking, what empire am I building in the next 20 years? Even if you're broke, you can shift your perspective right now. Stop asking yourself how to survive this week and start asking yourself what kind of legacy you want to leave. If you focus on survival, you'll always be in survival. If you focus on legacy, your daily choices begin to reflect that vision, and survival takes care of itself. And environment matters. Look around at the space you live in right now. It doesn't matter if it's small, simple, or broken down. What matters is how you treat it. Billionaire thinking says, I create excellence wherever I am. Even if you're living in a single room, you can keep it organized, inspiring, and filled with reminders of where you're going. Put quotes on the wall, keep your space clean, treat your environment as if it's already the headquarters of your empire. Why? Because your environment influences your psychology, and your psychology drives your actions. Stop waiting for a mansion to live like a visionary. Live like one now. And let's address fear. Fear is the biggest prison for people who stay broke. Fear of failing, fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish, fear of dreaming too big. Billionaire energy doesn't eliminate fear. It uses fear as fuel. When you feel fear, it means you're on the edge of growth. It means you're stepping into new territory. Fear is proof you're moving forward. Acting like a billionaire means you lean into fear. You don't back away from it. You ask, what's the worst that can happen? Can I survive it? Yes, then I move. Fear will never disappear, but your courage can grow bigger than your fear. And let's get real about money, too. Billionaires treat money as a tool, not as an idol. They make money work for them. Even if you're broke, you can start shifting your perspective. Don't spend every dollar to numb yourself with temporary comfort. Treat every dollar as a seed. Ask yourself, how can I multiply this? How can I use this to create, to build, to grow? Maybe that means investing in a skill. Maybe it means setting aside a small habit of saving. Maybe it means using what you have to create value for others. It's not about the size of the seed. It's about the discipline of planting it. And let's talk about communication. Billionaires know how to communicate powerfully. They know how to inspire, how to negotiate, how to influence. Acting like a billionaire means you start mastering your ability to communicate today. Practice clarity, practice listening, practice persuasion. Whether you're broke or wealthy, your ability to communicate will determine your influence, and influence builds wealth. Every conversation is an opportunity to lead, to inspire, to expand. If you show up with certainty, with clarity, with passion, people will be drawn to you. And self-discipline is another cornerstone. People who live broke lives allow emotions to dictate their behavior. They do what they feel like. Billionaires do what's required, regardless of how they feel. If you want to embody that level of power, start small, create rituals and keep them. Set standards for yourself and stick to them. Prove to yourself that your word means something. When you follow through consistently, you build trust with yourself, and that self-trust creates unstoppable momentum. And let's not forget creativity. Billionaires are creators, not just consumers. They don't sit around waiting for entertainment or distraction. They build, they innovate, they solve problems. Even if you're broke, you can step into creativity. Stop asking, what can I buy? Start asking, what can I create? What value can I add? What solution can I bring? Creativity doesn't cost money. It costs courage. It costs the willingness to put something out into the world, to test, to fail, to improve. The more you create, the more doors will open. And grind and hustle are often misunderstood. Acting like a billionaire doesn't mean working yourself into the ground without rest. It means working intelligently, strategically, with intensity when it's required, and with recovery when it's needed. It means aligning your work with your vision, not just staying busy for the sake of being busy. Billionaires aren't the busiest people, but they're the most focused people. They eliminate distractions and put their energy where it counts. You can practice that right now. And then remember, wealth is not only financial. Wealth is relationships, health, contribution, freedom, fulfillment. Acting like a billionaire means pursuing wealth in every dimension of your life. If you're broke financially, but rich in gratitude, rich in vision, rich in discipline, rich in love, you are already building the foundation that money will eventually amplify. And the truth is, acting like a billionaire while you're broke is one of the greatest tests of faith, discipline, and vision you will ever face. Anyone can act wealthy when they have money. But to carry yourself with abundance when the world tells you you're broke, that's power. That's when you discover what you're really made of. That's when you separate yourself from the crowd, because the crowd waits for proof while leaders create proof. And so let me ask you, if today you stripped away your excuses, your fear, your old story, what decisions would you make as if you already had everything you desire? How would you walk into the room? How would you speak to yourself? How would you invest your time, your energy, your focus? That's the shift. You don't wait for wealth to give you permission. You grant yourself permission now. You act as if the vision is already here. And when you live that way long enough, with enough conviction, the gap between where you are and where you want to be starts closing faster than you ever imagined. And now let's go further, because embodying this mindset requires you to master the way you show up in every single arena of your life. Acting like a billionaire when you're broke is not about waiting for circumstances to catch up. It's about embodying the power of vision so fully that circumstances have no choice but to bend in your direction. Every moment you spend doubting, shrinking, or questioning your worth, you rob yourself of the momentum that could transform everything. But every moment you decide to show up with strength, conviction, and clarity, you send a signal to the world that you are ready for more. And think about influence. The wealthiest people in the world don't just move money, they move people. They create movements, they inspire belief, they build tribes around vision. That's available to you right now. You don't need billions to be influential. Influence begins with how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you make others feel. If you can inspire someone when you have nothing, imagine what you'll do when resources pour in. You build influence today by showing up consistently, by standing firm in your values, by communicating possibility in a world obsessed with problems. That influence compounds like interest. It grows, it spreads, and one day it positions you in rooms you could never have accessed otherwise. And let's talk about emotional mastery, because this is non-negotiable. Billionaires are not controlled by their moods. They control their state. They don't collapse when pressure builds. They rise under it. If you want to embody that energy, you must learn to master your emotions. That doesn't mean suppressing them. It means directing them. It means using fear to sharpen focus, using frustration to spark innovation, using doubt to fuel preparation. Every emotion has energy, and that energy can be destructive or constructive depending on how you channel it. Right now, even if you're broke, you can practice turning every emotional state into fuel. That's billionaire energy. You turn setbacks into comebacks, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and emotions into motion. And consider the power of standards. Your life will always rise or fall to the level of your standards. If your standard is survival, you'll survive. If your standard is excellence, you'll expand. Acting like a billionaire means you refuse to tolerate mediocrity, even in the smallest details. You show up on time. You follow through on promises. You deliver more than expected. You demand more of yourself than the world demands of you. You set a tone that says, excellence is my normal. That becomes magnetic because people are drawn to those who refuse to settle. And here's the truth. You don't need money to raise your standards. You need commitment. And now think about vision under pressure. When most people are stressed, they shrink their dreams. They tell themselves that now is not the time to think big. But billionaires expand in pressure. They ask, What's the opportunity here? What advantage can I create while others panic? If you want to embody that energy, you must learn to dream even bigger in your hardest moments. When life tightens around you, instead of retreating, step forward with even greater vision. Because the truth is, pressure reveals your character, and character is what builds empires. And let's go deeper into action. Billionaires move with urgency. They don't procrastinate. They don't sit in indecision. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They know that clarity comes from action, not from endless thinking. Even if you don't know the perfect step, take a step. Movement creates momentum, and momentum creates opportunities that thinking alone will never reveal. Acting like a billionaire means you stop waiting for permission and start moving boldly. When you train yourself to act decisively, people will feel your certainty and doors will open. And another area is adaptability. Billionaires thrive because they can pivot when the world changes. They don't cling to the past. They anticipate the future. Acting like a billionaire means you become flexible, willing to shift, to learn, to reinvent yourself when necessary. Even if you're broke, you can practice this by embracing change instead of resisting it. Every time life throws you something unexpected, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask, how is this happening for me? What new door is opening because this one closed? That question alone will transform setbacks into stepping stones. And then there's boldness. Billionaires play bold. They make moves others think are impossible. They aren't reckless, but they are daring. They understand that the biggest risk is not taking risks at all. If you want to embody that now, you must start living bolder. Speak up in rooms where you used to stay silent. Take opportunities you feel unqualified for and grow into them. Ask for what you want instead of waiting to be noticed. Boldness is a muscle, and every time you flex it, it grows. And let's not forget faith in the unseen. Billionaires invest in ideas, visions, and possibilities before they're proven. They believe when others doubt. They trust themselves when evidence is missing. Acting like a billionaire means you cultivate unshakable belief in yourself and your vision. That belief will feel irrational to others, but it's the seed that eventually produces fruit. You must trust your future self so deeply that you move today as if the results are inevitable. And discipline and freedom are also intertwined. People think billionaires have freedom because of money, but in truth, they have freedom because of discipline. They built the structures, the habits, the systems that produce results consistently. If you want freedom, you must first embrace discipline. Even if you're broke, you can discipline your thoughts, your actions, your routines. That structure creates stability, and stability creates momentum. And contribution is another pillar. Billionaires think beyond themselves. They ask, how can I create massive value for others? Acting like a billionaire means shifting from self-focus to service. Ask yourself, whose life can I make better today? How can I add value with what I already know, what I already have? When you live with contribution at the core, abundance finds you, because the world rewards those who solve problems, who lift others, who expand beyond their own needs. And here's something vital. Courage to stand alone. Before vision becomes popular, it is often criticized. Before ideas are accepted, they are ridiculed. Billionaires can stand firm in their vision when no one else sees it. If you want to embody that now, you must stop needing external validation. You must be willing to look foolish, to be misunderstood, to be doubted. That's the price of leadership, and if you're willing to pay it, you'll eventually become the one others follow. And let's look at patience combined with intensity. Billionaires play the long game with short-term urgency. They act as if everything depends on today, but they plan as if they have decades to build. Acting like a billionaire means you combine both. You bring fire to the present moment, but you don't get discouraged if results take time. You plant seeds knowing they will grow, and you keep watering them with faith, effort, and consistency. And then there's vision alignment. Billionaires don't scatter their energy across dozens of pursuits. They align their energy around a central vision. Even if you're broke, you can start aligning. Ask yourself, does this decision serve my vision or does it distract from it? If it doesn't serve, you cut it out. That level of focus will make you unstoppable because most people waste their power on distractions. And finally, let's talk about becoming undeniable. Billionaires don't hope to be noticed. They make themselves impossible to ignore. They produce at such a high level with such consistency that the world cannot overlook them. Acting like a billionaire means you commit to becoming so skilled, so consistent, so valuable that no one can dismiss you. You stop competing for attention and start commanding respect. You embody excellence until, opportunities have no choice but to chase you. And every single one of these choices, how you think, how you act, how you respond, how you lead, is available to you right now. It costs nothing to decide that you will live with billionaire standards, billionaire energy, billionaire vision, even if your pockets are empty. Because the truth is, Money doesn't make you wealthy. Identity makes you wealthy. And when you choose that identity, when you live it fully, everything else begins to align